We're back. I've got the rest of the chat the muted at the moment. Right.
No.
Can you all hear me? Am I cutting in and out now?
No.
Your audio. Yeah, you've got static in your audio.
Yeah.
Check your
I've got
cable.
static in the audio.
Yeah.
Yeah, check the mic cable. Microphone cable.
Wait. Right. So is this one coming through okay? And
No,
this one
it
coming
is.
through okay?
It's staticky.
Say
Okay.
exterminate.
Exterminate! Exterminate!
Nice.
So
Yeah, see, Chris, if you wanted a conversation like this, I'd be more than happy to have a conversation like this.
So could we continue on your blog?
This kind of conversation, yeah, about, atheism and stuff like that. But the discussion about Duke is old and tired, and it's just can't be bothered with it.
I don't think anybody needs to have much of a conversation about Duke because Duke is capable of speaking for himself. I don't think he needs you to go out and defend him or go out and deal with the kind of shit show that he likes to stir up.
Yeah,
it's probably not good for your health.
Yeah, he jumps in all my threads. Don't worry about it.
is my audio still off?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna.
I mean, it's not off. It's just you are just static. When you talk, it comes through like robot-y and also like.
Right. Let me just quickly check Discord to see if it's doing if it's on there.
He's just been smoking crack and doesn't want to admit it.
It's actually just what his voice sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself. You guys continue chatting whilst I try and work this out.
Yeah, so Chris, if you wanted to discuss reasons why you don't believe in God and why you use that kind of terminology and burden of justification and anything like that, I'd love to have that kind of conversation.
Okay, that's fine. I'll take what I can get.
Well, I mean, there's definitely like a conversation to be had about semantics.
Can
but
I just
not
say one more thing?
semantics themselves. Yeah.
Cheshire, I just wanted to make it clear that, I'm
Testing.
Sure.
Is as I stated in the blog, if you read it, I can't necessarily defend his actions on Twitter. Like I explicitly say that right at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't think that would. I only had time to, because I only just saw your post now. I've just been kind of skimming it. I haven't had exactly enough time to.
Testing. There we go.
For explaining what your issue was. Well, I was still here. I had to run for a second. Was that people were saying you and Duke were telling people they had to use these definitions. Duke does do that. Now, I don't know if you do that, but Duke does do that. It's just a fact. And I don't know if he's going to deny that. I think looking at his extensive Twitter history is
that's the thing, though. Twitter has limited character counts, so I think it's more because he doesn't have space to make long arguments. But if you reframe things in the longer, when you have more space, like he did in that debate with Steve on the modern day debates, he has a more nuanced position. And that's what I was trying to defend. I mean, because I have a similar position to his nuanced position is similar to mine. I don't go around saying people are wrong, but that was part of the speech habits that he has. So I wouldn't necessarily say people are wrong, but I understand what you mean when you say that he goes onto Steve's threads and says that he's wrong. I think he probably meant that, he's not using the word the way that the Duke would prefer. But yeah, I wouldn't say wrong like that. I understand that he likes to use that word when he simply means it's different from what he prefers.
So Twitter limitations, Twitter limitations are that's nonsense. I'm gonna none of that matters because I've legitimately gone to Duke, tried to reset fresh with him completely. I've been like, listen, I know last time we had a conversation, you told me there was Steve's cum dribbling out of my mouth, but let's have a conversation about this because Twitter, people get heated People are gonna like throw shade. Fine, whatever. I don't care. So we started off on a new thread. He gave me a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'll take my time and go through this. I got busy with life stuff. We put no time limitation on it, and then he started jumping into threads when I said, hey, listen, I'm busy. I'll get to it when I get to it. And he started trying to pressure me and follow me around in other threads that were completely unrelated to try and force me to have this conversation when he saw fit. And I didn't say he was wrong, but the point is that it's not about defending. It's about accepting that this is something that he does, period, end of sentence. You can have whatever discussion you want to have. It sounds like your conversation with Dave will be a lot more productive than talking about whatever the hell Duke is saying. So I would like let Duke speak for himself.
Again, all I wanted to do was correct the misconceptions that were laid out in the blog about what my position is. And so I just tried to make those clear. As you read it, you'll see. That's all. Well,
that's what I think that you might have run into trouble. You said me and Duke initially. Duke is doing his own thing over here, right? So
I've confirmed specific positions that I think I wrote what I believe he is trying to say in my own words. I wrote it in my own words. And then I confirmed with him that those are a good summary of his positions.
Yeah, but then you look at Duke's behavior and it goes against what you summarized.
Also, I've had a few conversations.
Sorry, Philip, go ahead.
Evidence.
No, it's just that I've had a few conversations with Duke, and I kind of confirmed that it's sort of like he behaves in this sort of way. But then again, like the conversation that we just had, Chris, like I've attempted to have with Duke many times, and I can definitely say that it went much smoother with you, and we got to a point of agreement much quicker than anything even remotely close with Duke. Like I don't have necessarily that much of a problem if you're willing, if you answer the question, and I ask you, do you find them equally likely, and then you say no, I find that God does not exist more likely, and then you're willing to defend that, then I'm perfectly fine with that. Like, I mean, there is still a thing to be said about the definitions and used and stuff like that. But
yeah, there's a semantic discussion.
Yeah, but bottom line, what I'm trying just to say is, like, if you're willing to do that, I don't have as much of a problem with you as with people who just, are then trying to not say any of that and then try to go, no, it's just a lack of belief, and then end of conversation.
And I would recommend, Philip, that you go and read the blog yourself, and you'll see that,
Well,
I think you'll.
I would recommend I'm not saying don't talk to this guy or don't be friends with this guy or don't interact with this guy. I would never say that. But what I will say is that if you're going to want to have your own discussion with people and you're going to want to have your own position, even if they happen to align with Duke, you don't necessarily want to present yourself as if you align with Duke, because you're bringing a lot of baggage along with that. Because if you say, well, me and Duke, this, and this, people are going to be like, but Duke doesn't say that. And now they're not arguing or talking to you anymore. They're talking about what to you or to Duke through you, and you're talking to us through Duke, or Duke is talking to us through you, right? And that's not a position I think you want to be in, and I wouldn't recommend.
I'm expressing a nuanced position, and if people misunderstand what my position is, if people misunderstand that, I don't necessarily agree with all of the Duke's behaviors, then we can clear that up with further conversation, and I'm open to that.
Yeah, and that's fair enough.
What I'm saying is, like, maybe start off by not making that association right out the gate, because you can have your own position without bringing that additional baggage along, right? It's the same kind of thing that when Steve and I had David Smalley on, David Smalley brought a shitload of baggage to that conversation, and it's like, you don't need to bring that along, right? You can just have the conversation. Unfortunately, he did bring it on, so the conversation was not able to happen. It sounds like it's the same case here on the blog. Some baggage got brought along, and so the conversation wasn't able to actually happen and proceed. Because like I said, you could have a conversation about semantics, which I would love to get to, but we never get to that conversation because we're too busy dealing with additional nonsense that other people have decided they want to have some kind of issue with. So if you want to have a discussion about, hey, I like using this terminology in my day-to-day life because this, and that, there's definitely a reason to say, hey, I'm not trying to have a deep conversation with somebody. Somebody just asked, oh, well, I'm Catholic. Do you want to come to church? And I said, oh, no, thanks. And they said, why not? And I said, well, I don't really believe in a God. And you moved on with your day. That's an entirely different conversation than let's have a discussion about whether or not God exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so
and also,
I just
hang on just 1 second, Chris. And also, don't treat every discussion as a debate where the conversation has to be won.
Yes. Oh my God.
When I say debate, I do mean discussion. So, I mean, I tend to use debate much more frequently in my speech. When I'm talking about argumentation, people trying to change each other's minds. Discussion, a calm discussion like this, I would typically on a daily basis call it debate.
That's not necessarily discussion, though. Discussions don't necessarily need to involve the attempt to change somebody's mind. Think of it more as a dialectic where you're both having a discussion and you investigate the topics, and you're not trying to change the mind, you're trying to come to some sort of agreement.
Or understanding.
Still,
I usually find it's more valuable to have, it depends on what you're doing, right? If you want to have a debate, then have a debate, like set up a time and I set up something at least a little bit more formal. But if you're going to have a discussion you want people to understand what you're saying, then you have to kind of meet them at a table and be willing to understand what they're trying to say also. Otherwise, this is why you end up in conversations that go nowhere, because you're trying to debate and when the other person is trying to discuss, the other person is trying to understand you, and you think that they're asking questions. I don't mean you in particular. I'm saying you in general.
David Smalley did a lot of that.
Yeah, you're taking somebody's question as if they're trying to lead you down, like it's a leading question, or they're going to try and take you down. And it's like, no, I'm trying to understand you. That's why I'm asking, right?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Let me see.
A discussion isn't a game of chess, and a lot of people seem to treat it like a game of chess.
Yeah, and I think Chess, you highlighted a really big issue with the original discussion, Chris, because I think that at least the way it seemed, and if we were wrong for perceiving that way, then maybe, but you seemed to come along and say you're of the same position of Duke, right? Now, forgetting ontological position, it wasn't specific that you're talking about you also lack belief in gods. You were talking about the same position as Duke. So therefore, that's how it came across. It may not have been that way, but that's how it came across. So if you're arguing that, or at least we're seeing you as you hold the same position as Duke, we're having a discussion of all of Duke's behaviors and things like that with you, assuming that you are of the same position as him. Now,
at least the position of like trying to change people's mind, right? If you want to make it as simple as you can, you say, excluding his behavior on Twitter, excluding whatever that is. If you come and say, hey, I agree with this person, blah, 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 and this person is saying, they're saying we should be using this definition and that we are wrong, in fact, to use any other definition. And you say, I agree with this person. That's the position people think that you're arguing for. But that's not what you've said here. You said that, no, people should be able to use whatever it makes sense, but this is what I use. That's an entirely different position than what Duke has presented.
Oh, all right. I just want to make it clear that the whole way I got involved in these online discussions was that I happened to see Duke's debate with Steve McRae. And I realized that actually I share some positions with the Duke, and I understand what he's trying to get across, and maybe I can get that across more clearly than he did. And so I joined Steve's after show on that debate, and that's when I first, got to speak with Steve. All right, and so I made the video to further clarify what I was trying to tell Steve that day. All right, so from the beginning, it was around the Duke's position. The Duke was not clearly expressing his position. I thought I could express it more clearly. That's how me and him became intertwined in these discussions. But I've always explicitly stated I do not necessarily agree with all of the Duke's positions. And when I discuss things, I am not trying to win anything. I also try to make that clear.
Okay, but maybe that wasn't as clear as you thought. And that's why but the fact that you attacked it from the Duke's perspective it seemed to be that you agreed with Duke's perspective. And the way Duke approaches things, if you agree with Duke and Duke does this, then you agree with Duke doing this. Now, that may not be the case, right? But it's even when we were talking about the special pleading of Duke in the article, we weren't talking about you special pleading. Dave specifically referenced Duke's special pleading because Duke was saying that Steve should accept people calling him an atheist, but Duke didn't have to accept being called an agnostic. He was an agnostic atheist. So he didn't have to accept other people's labels, but Steve should accept other people's labels. And that was the special pleading that we were addressing, and you turned round and said that it's not that you didn't notice the special pleading, it's that it wasn't there. That was your...
And what was my argument?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but that was the conversation that
I've actually got it pulled up.
I've
actually got it pulled up. So you had said that where did it go?
One of the
hyper special. Oh, here we go. It's not that you missed special pleading. It was that it wasn't there in the first place. As I explained in my response to Roland's quote, there are normative definitions used in the field of science that we don't get to change simply because that's what a lot of people define them colloquially. Then you out of quote. That's completely besides the point. If I have word preferences
that's a different subject.
No, that is the exact response that we're talking about here.
I explained my explanation for why there's no special pleading in the response to Dave Rollins. And so you would have to go and look at Dave Rollins, my response to Dave Rollins specifically. This was to Joe.
That's what I'm looking at. That's what I've got pulled up. This is directly in response to you responding to Dave.
So, I mean...
like I said...
Like that aside, do you know what? Why don't we just actually forget about this and move on? Let's have a discussion about something else anyway. Like at the end of the day, right? What we should do, Chris, let's draw a line in the sand, right? Your position is not Duke's position, right? You may hold a similar ontological position around the proposition God exists, right? You define that as atheist. I accept that you call yourself an atheist. We both understand that the most common definition under the philosophy of religion would be that you're an agnostic, but fuck it, I don't care. I don't care what you call yourself. I mean, you can call yourself a cheese sandwich for all I care. I really don't give a fuck when it comes down to it, right? But let's forget all that shit in the past. If you want a conversation about your position and all that sort of stuff, let's do it, but let's do it under the perspective of you. Let's forget the Duke out of this conversation completely, right? Let's drop all of that. I mean, you summarized it perfectly, Chesh. Like, there's too much baggage in that conversation because of the interactions with Duke, because of Duke's behaviors, because of what he does, right? So, moving forward, we can address this separately, okay? If we were wrong, assuming that your position was the same as Duke's with all of his comments, because that's what it seemed to be, and that's what we alluded to, and that's what the comments seemed to alluded to, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we were wrong. I'm sorry that we thought your position was the same as Duke's. That's the way it came across. At the end of the day, let's go with the only thing that you were definitely on the same page with him is that you're a lack of belief atheist, right?
All right, and can I please get you to commit to making my last statement on that page public, please?
Oh, Dave can authorize it if he wants. Don't worry, I will authorize it. Don't worry, I'll let it publish. Don't worry about it. You know.
Okay. Thank you.
But I'll summarize it, and I'll put a line in the sand as discussed on stream. A lot of the issue with the conversation was the fact that there was baggage brought to this conversation under the reference of Duke, and we will be moving forward and addressing your individual points in the future, not under that sort of umbrella.
And
of
thank you, both Joe and Dave. Thank you. I will take whatever conversations you will allow me to have. I will take it and be happy. I won't mention the Duke if you forbid me, and that's fine. That's fine. But
the Duke is forbidden.
For now, I need to go. All right. Thank you for the conversation.
Take it easy, Chris.
Have yourself a good one.
Take care.
I feel like with that last line, the point has been missed, but that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't matter as long as I'm forward.
A more interesting
I think that,
discussion.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely... I don't care about discussing Duke's points, if he had any.
Yeah. I mean, if you want a philosophy of language discussion, there's more interesting things in philosophy of language than what.
Right? I got so confused. He gave me a bunch of references as to why he uses atheism in the way he uses it, and he just gave a list. It was like a screenshot of this list that said this word here, this word.
Yeah, he always uses that.
To this document so I can look through it and see what these links are what your references are, because he had the definition, the word, and he was like, well, I can't really give you access to that, but I'll put the links here. And I said, okay. And he puts the links, they were all to fucking Twitter, and some of them were to his own Twitter.
Yeah.
So I was like, here's the word I'm using, here's the definition, and here's why this definition is a proper, or here's the reason why, here's the reference as to why this definition is the one I'm using. Link to my own tweet.
Yeah.
The dude, my brain exploded as soon as I hit out like a couple of those links. I was like, are you this word is the proper word to use because I use it. Okay. I guess.
That's pretty
Good
much.
To know there's an authority on language.
Right? And it was some of them were to you guys, and I was just like, so they're arguing. They're saying that you shouldn't use this term this way, and you're using that as a reference as to why you're using the term this way. This is why I had to stop having the conversation with Duke for a little bit, because I was just like, my brain, I had to do I had other things going on, and I'm like, there's so much to sort through with what he just gave me that I have to come back to this. And then he was like a complete douche for no reason about something else around the same thing, like a week or so later, to the point where I was like, you need to apologize and step the hell back on whatever and take back everything you just said, or fuck off. And so he blocked me, and I was like, okay, bye.
That makes life much easier.
I don't have to have this conversation anymore. Yay.
And he jumps into every conversation pretty much.
Yeah, I mean that's the list I was talking about. He's got this Agnosta Looney list that basically every single person that he has this sort of conversation with, he puts on there, and then he jumps on every single one of the threads. That's why I had to block him in the end. Originally I had him muted, but I noticed people responding to him all the time, and it was just like, do you know what?
It's too much.
It's too exactly. I don't want to have to deal with this crap.
At what point is it considered harassment where people start trying to hijack every single thread you're on to have a conversation that you're already having or already did have? Yeah. It's not like you're avoiding the conversation. It's not like you weren't already having already addressed it. Like, the thing is that you, just because somebody doesn't agree with you after a conversation doesn't mean you just get to harangue them for the rest of your life until they agree with you. I'm gonna listen. I have Duke Stockholm syndrome. I'm gonna agree with him just so he comes back.
Brilliant. So
I don't know what to say, right? Like, what? Why?
Yeah. So just catching up with the chat. Bearded Heretic had a bit of a story. Where his partner told him to get the click and collect from the Asda, so he had to drive 40 minutes to get to it, and it wasn't there. It was supposed to be yesterday.
Oh
no! 3 Vikings, you're having trouble connecting to Discord. I have given you the permissions now to be a sci-fi guest. So if you're on the Discord server, all you need to do is click the sci-fi bit and you can join us on air. Anyone today can join us for this random conversation with no real direction. It's just a bit of a laugh, and thankfully we're off the last conversation.
There's things I would actually like to have that semantic discussion, and I tried to bring it up with David Smalley, right? He said that, listen, there are reasons why, like, it makes the conversation go easier, does this and that. There's reasons why I prefer to use this kind of thing instead of the other. And I said, okay, but there's problems with that. Here are the problems. That would have been a great discussion, but he would just didn't answer me. I was just like, oh, okay. Ooh, apology pizza. Also, essentially, Leon in the chat said, I would block Duke, but I try not to block people. So yeah. I used to have, I had another account. I had 2 Twitter accounts for myself. One was just my personal one, and one was like the one that went along with.
What's going on tonight? We have never had problems as bad as this. I wonder if my ISP is having problems in the area. It has been a bit dodgy, but yes, as you were saying, you've got 2 different accounts and gone. Oh, you've lost audio.